Hey, welcome into the National Audio Visual Studios, Kudzu Sports. I'm your host, Rick Beach, along with Austin Allen. This week brought to you by National Audio Visual Services here in Columbus. Hey, you got all your audio visual stuff. You got some old VHSs. They switch them over to USB or a DVD. You can put it on, I imagine. They just do all kind of stuff for you. Football season's coming up. If you got a tailgate, they got TV rentals. They got projector screens they can put up. So, anything you need for that coming up. Then, of course, weddings. People do fall weddings. I don't know how he'd want to do a wedding during football season, but I'm sure he'd manage. So give National Audio Visual a call, and Alex will hook you up. A lot to get into this week. Schedule came out in the SEC, obviously, and practice kicked off or started. Thuds were popping at the end of the week. So, Austin, what you got to say going in now?
Yeah, I'm feeling pretty excited. Things are getting loosened back up. See you making contact out there. You can obviously, feel the excitement building a little bit. So, as people inch closer, and then you see a lot of the Vegas odds coming out and stuff. So, it's just been a fun week so far.
Oh, man. Hearing the coaches get to, talking, especially the local three. We always talk about the local three first time tuning in. And also, make sure you hit that share and like button on this video. Share the video. Get it out there. A lot of new eyeballs on us. We got a lot more likes and follows this week. And like I said, listen to the local three we talk about, Alabama, Auburn, and Georgia right here in Columbus is, hotbed in this city. But hearing the coaches' excitement because they've been locked up since the bowl game pretty much.
Oh, yeah.
I think South Carolina got one practice in the spring before it got shut down. So really and truly, they haven't seen any – they've had the 1 hour of walkthroughs, I think, during the acclimation, OTAs, mini camps, coaches calling it different things.
Right.
But, man, you hear the excitement. Here's some Gus Malzahn was talking after the scrimmage on Saturday, just being back in Jordan-Hare and the excitement, everything going on. And as a fan, for me, I'm excited, but I'm still worried all the time. Just natural. I'm a worrisome person, I imagine, by, just how I am. So I'm just worried that, as soon as I get excited, they're going to shut it off.
Right.
But now we're getting to the point of we're so close, it's good to get excited about.
Yeah, that's how I feel. I mean, we're inching close, and it feels like unless some kind of cataclysm comes along that things are going to keep going in this direction.
Yeah, I mean, let's look. Auburn announced they've had 0 positive tests the last 2 weeks. They've had like 33 positive tests since early June, and that's 863 tests. Alabama said they've had 1% in the last 2 weeks, 2% since the 1st of July. So the numbers are down. Georgia didn't give no numbers for whatever reason. They didn't, issue that out. So you're looking, the numbers are down, but these players are getting out of these bubbles. But I think the whole point of the SEC pushing the kickoff back to September 26th was to allow for what's going on in Vanderbilt, where they're having kind of a shutdown for a couple weeks.
Right.
So, I mean, the schedule getting pushed back allows us to have to where if something did go wrong, you can make it the right.
Right, yeah, I can feel that. I was kind of questionable about the way Vanderbilt was doing it. I guess they're being a little thorough, but I figured, you could just isolate the ones who were affected and, keep it moving as long as.
North Carolina and Notre Dame's doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And, that'd be fine. But, hey, let's talk about on the field. The schedule came out. Was there any surprises? We saw the opponents came out the week before. Did you have any surprises when it was released?
Yeah, as a Georgia fan, I felt, Auburn week 2 and kind of the front load of Georgia's schedule was kind of a surprise, at least compared to the other major powers in the SEC, if you will. It seems like Alabama kind of got a break. Auburn's got a pretty, tough stretch.
I think Florida called a break. Later on in the show, we'll be joined by Mark McLeod from Gator Blitz, and I'm sure we'll talk about that too. But I feel Florida kind of got off a little bit with the schedule and how the games fall. And, really and truly, if you play 10 SEC games, you're going to have a tough schedule. But, I felt Alabama had some weaker games before the big ones. But I don't think you can complain because we're going to have football. And week 1's not a heavyweight lineup, but, the Kentucky-Auburn game stood out to me.
Right.
As that has the potential to be a really good game.
Yeah, that does look like a good game, interesting game. I think it's a real test for really both of these teams. I think that's what makes it interesting is because there's a lot of unknowns. Yeah. Yeah, and then you got, touchdown Terry coming back for Kentucky. So, I think there's a lot of breath holding going on with both of those teams right now.
Yeah, I look at Kentucky's defense and what Stoops has done up there and what he's built. They've always had a pretty good defensive line. And you look at Auburn, the one weak spot on that offense is going to be the offensive line. And, Auburn's got to get it going quick.
Right.
Because right after that, you're going to have Georgia week 2.
Yeah.
So that offensive line's got to get it going in a hurry.
Yeah, they do. And that's what is so interesting about, all the teams is, you got to have it going right up front. And, there's no room for error. I don't see an 8-2 team sneaking into the playoff or anything like that. So, you got to pretty much be on your P's and Q's from, the first whistle to the last one.
Yeah, and, with Georgia, we talked about with Tom Monken coming in and a new quarterback, you wanted to have, even a Virginia team, not trying to take a swipe at them. But, when you saw you had Virginia and then East Tennessee, you kind of felt better about this offense getting ushered in. And, week 1, Arkansas is not a big concern for Georgia. But that week 2, that Kevin Steele defense is going to be on, they're going to be on point.
Yeah, and that's a tough game to get ready for, definitely. I think it's, I think that could be the toughest. That could be a little tougher than Alabama. I mean, that's a warm-up for Alabama, I guess some would say. But, at the same time, that's a tough thing to go up against right out of the gate. I think especially when you're not used to coaching that style, maybe, you don't come into conference play until a couple weeks in and you get a couple little warm-ups, but you got to go full go, man. And I think, that really puts a bigger spotlight on that game than I guess, a couple months ago I would have thought it would have.
Yeah, that
is Gatewood going to be able to play?
He hadn't been cleared yet.
Yeah, he hadn't been cleared.
Okay. There's 2 players in the SEC right now waiting to get cleared. Joey Gatewood at Kentucky, Otis Reese, who went from Georgia to Ole Miss. He hadn't heard. Big news last week was Cade Mays getting denied up at Tennessee. To each his own. I don't think they should just give everybody playing time.
Yeah.
And it does seem like quarterbacks obviously always get to play. But Luke Ford didn't get to play.
Yeah.
So, I mean, Luke Ford went from Georgia to Illinois, and he didn't get to play. So, in a sense, it's,
Yeah. Well, I think there's not much sympathy in Cade's case because it's not a guy just leaving trying to find another home to get more on the field time, which I think some, people in the NCAA could feel compassion for, but instead it's a dude with, these extracurricular circumstances.
Yeah, if his dad knew how to do a folding chair, he'd still be at Georgia.
Yeah, I mean it's because there's a lawsuit involved and stuff, and I don't think just because they would smile upon something like that because you're just trying to get eligible and using some excuses and stuff when really we all know what the true reason is.
And on the field, Cade Mays is a great offensive lineman, and
absolutely
probably not going to play at all because he'll just go to the NFL.
Yeah.
He's going to be eligible for the draft. So
yeah, if he doesn't get cleared, he'll go to the league, and he'll probably have a good career. I mean,
and he can hang out.
He's a heck of an athlete.
His brother Cooper is a freshman at Tennessee this year, so he can hang out with Cooper.
Yeah.
Their dad's with the UT alum, even though he don't know how to operate a folding chair. He graduated college at UT, and they can hang out and be a happy family, but not watch Cade play. Yeah. So I mean, looking with that, but you talked about Alabama's schedule, and going through it. It's before Georgia, you have like Kentucky. They have these. Why do you think there's anything to that?
Yeah, I think there's something to that. Yeah, absolutely.
So, what would be, as a Georgia fan, your conspiracy on how the SEC would want Alabama?
I think Nick's just. I mean, he's a politicker. He knows how to grace people's ear, and he hangs out with these guys. He plays golf. He does all these things. You can obviously tell with his relationship with the media, that he's been a media darling at ESPN for a while. They always have him on in the suit. And
let me put it this way. This is the way I look at it, and right or wrong or indifferent, this is the way I view it. Hadn't he earned that?
I guess.
I mean, if at the end of the day,
but when you're a Georgia fan, like I am, then you see, Georgia always gets the shaft.
Yeah, I mean,
when it comes to these type of things, like the swapping with Auburn. All these type of things, Georgia always gets the short end.
Well, so. I think, for Georgia, in a sense, you get Arkansas week 1.
Yeah.
So you get
the free W.
They give you the easy game. I think the SEC, no doubt, they want Georgia or Florida in Atlanta.
I got Arkansas as SEC champions.
In what, 2030 something?
And what, baseball? What are you?
Oh, he's a baseball guy. That's right. Yeah, I mean, I think Arkansas's got major. We'll go through later in the show. We're going to go through each team's win-loss record.
Right.
And, I'll just go ahead and tell you, Arkansas, they got problems. It's not just the new coaches coming in. And Barry Odom's going to be a good defensive coordinator. Their roster's just not there. It's real thin. And, Felipe Franks, then they got the guy from Last Chance U at running back. That's, good talent. But that's 2 players, and who else they got?
Right.
And
They got a long road ahead of them, man.
they went from a power smash mouth team to what Chad Morris was running with the spread. Now they're running some Kendall Browse.
Right.
So they have no identity, no players, no depth, and you got a head coach that's been a lifetime assistant who's never been the head coach. You have a defensive coordinator that used to be a coach in the SEC as head coach, so you could have a clash of egos going on.
Absolutely.
So I think they could have more problems than and plus Sam Pittman wasn't picked out by Arkansas. Hey, be our coach.
Yeah.
I mean, he went up there and said, "Look, nobody else wants this job. Give it to me."
Right.
And there's a reason nobody wanted that job.
Yeah, and like I'm saying, they got a long road. They got a tall mountain to climb, and is Sam Pittman really the dude who could get it going? I know he was an excellent position coach, and he definitely earned the right to have an opportunity. So we're just going to see how it works out. But they got so many deficiencies at so many different places. It's going to be hard to even get close.
Yeah, and that's going to be the issue they're having. If you just finding us, make sure you hit the like and hit that share button. Get us out there. We're trying to get this show rocking and rolling right here at kickoff. We've been going last month or 2.
Oh yeah.
So we're follow.
It's been more good news than bad news.
Yeah.
Lately.
So if you just come across us, make sure you like the page. But we really want you to share this video, get it out there. Yeah, but I don't see Vanderbilt, Missouri's head coach coming in from App State, and then it just seems to be not a good year to be doing that.
Yeah.
With a new head coach, I can't imagine just not even Chad Moore. It'd have to be Todd Monken going back to Georgia. Having that usher in is bad enough. But when you got a whole new head coach who's never coached at this level, coming, or a Sam Pittman even, at least he surrounded himself with experienced coaches.
But at least maybe if you're a new head coach, maybe you feel like you get a freebie.
Yeah,
you get a free year.
And the players do too with the new rule.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I don't know. I don't know how good they'll be, but I just don't see Missouri and Arkansas really. And they do play each other, and that could end up being a really good game because it might be the only chance both of them get at getting a W.
Yeah.
And sometimes that makes the best football. That's why we watch action on Tuesday nights.
Yeah. Backs against the wall. That's what. Them Louisville Rutgers games. They turn into some slugfest sometimes.
You never know what. And you know what? Being a SEC football fan, you're going to watch.
Absolutely.
And that's this year it's going to be just nonstop good games. Now looking at the first week, South Carolina, Tennessee, Ole Miss, Florida, games like that don't normally get you really, really excited, but now it is because number one, how quick sports can be taken away from you, and we've been waiting so long just to show something.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's where we're at, man. Everybody, it's a fever pitch right now. Things are just building up, and you got to imagine the Big Ten got to feel like the people on the other side of the fence, like standing on the milk crates trying to see into the stadium.
Let's just go Kevin Warren, the commissioner of the Big Ten. How bad do you think he just messed up? I mean, it's going to cost him his job. Do you think?
Yeah, it's going to cost him his job.
Okay.
It's going to cost him his job. It's going to be a loss of revenue. It's going to be a loss of interest. I mean, that's the revenue they'll lose this year is the least of their worries to me. To me, it snowballs into people are going to lose interest. They're going to feel like, maybe they got their backs turned on. They got,
Well, it's not a good, especially when they say
they could feel betrayed.
14, the 14 athletic directors all said they wanted to play.
Yeah.
You have some presidents coming out saying that they wanted to play.
Right.
It's a really bad look, and I think the worst look is his son playing at Mississippi State. I think he's a senior at Mississippi State tight end, and for Kevin Warren to, he's probably going to go to these games in Starkville.
Right.
And how is it good enough you let your son play, but you won't let our sons play, and that's not a good look. I think
the parents was protesting. I don't know if you've seen that. They was outside the office, Big Ten.
They have
office.
like 20 people.
Yeah.
But it ain't the size.
Yeah.
Oh, Abby wanted. How's that look?
Potato Head's back up.
Is that good for? I know Abby wanted to see her Potato Head. Abby's Judd and Alex in the bullpen helping us out today, and Alex's daughter Abby loves that Mr. Potato Head, so we got to have it on the table. So Mark McLeod's about to call in to talk some Florida football. I'm excited to hear. I know Austin is, being a Georgia fan.
Yeah.
You want across enemy lines kind of deal? You want to know about the enemy?
Yeah, absolutely.
And,
whatever little there is to know.
They had a couple players, Copeland and Tooney.
Yeah.
That hadn't practiced
Kadarius
yet.
Toney.
Yeah. And I'm interested to see what Mark says about that, what he's hearing.
Yeah.
And, that's what I'd like to hear. Now we know, they got some problems on defense as far as third down. And, Georgia fans know that well with third and Grantham.
Too easy.
And, I just want to hear what he says about that. So, absolutely, if you're watching, if you need to stay around and listen to that, Mark's real knowledgeable on that, and he loves them Gators. Somebody has to.
Is he calling? Are we got him right now?
No, not yet.
Oh, okay. I got Tyler Morrison saying, UGA players ragged that man about his dad's finger.
Yeah, well, I don't even think it's just UGA. I think if anybody sees a grown man gets his finger chopped off by a folding chair.
Well, then lets it go for a year or two, and then it's like, you know what, I'll decide to take legal action now. And
well, because the statute of limitation about to run out,
yeah.
and somebody's got to pay. It's just the culture these days.
Yeah.
Somebody's got to pay. Just like the Big Ten, they thought, hey, if we cancel, everybody's going to cancel because it's a cancel culture going on. And
didn't work out like that.
Greg Sankey put that flex on the whole country and said, hey, watch this. And really and truly, that's who should do it. Like we talked about with Nick Saban, you've earned that right. If you're the SEC, you've earned that right.
That's funny because Tyler Morrison saying, you got to protect Saban. I think he's, as an Auburn fan, I'm sure he feels a little bit the same as I do. Bama gets the easy road from time to time.
Oh, it ain't no doubt. I mean, Auburn fans going to feel that way, number one, because it's Alabama.
Yeah.
And then, they do seem to have that. They seem to have, but that one year, everybody had an off week before they played Alabama.
Right.
So, sometimes the shoe's on the other foot.
Yeah.
I think Alabama's at that spot where they're so good, it don't matter.
Right.
It don't matter if you gave them LSU, you gave them Auburn, gave them Georgia, gave them Florida back to back to back. They're probably going to be favored to win and win all four of those games.
Yeah. And I could feel that, but at this, you don't want to give it to them. You want any leg up on them you can get on them.
The optics don't look good.
Right.
The optics ain't looking good when you have the schedule laid out. And especially if you're Auburn and you got to play, what is it? You got to play Alabama and A&M your last two games. And you got Kentucky, which is a defensive, minded team, followed by Georgia, which is a defensive-minded team.
Yeah.
To start off the year when you got a new play caller.
Hey, Wes Underwood says, go Dogs. Good to see Wes in the chat.
Yeah, man. So it's a lot going on with that. I'm excited to see how long the Gus, Chad, relationship, how long that goes. It's easy to say week one, hey, it ain't no problem, but, down the road, how it's going to go.
Yeah, I'm definitely interested in seeing, how Sankey continues to handle it. And
all right,
we got it coming in.
We got Mark calling in. Let's go right to him. Hey, Mark, you there?
Yeah, I got you.
Hey, bud, how you enjoying Panama City?
Doing very well. How are you?
Good, man. We were just talking about the Florida Gators and what was going on down there.
About the same as everywhere else, I guess.
Yeah.
They look, a little sloppy to start, but trying to put things together.
That's it. Now, what can you say about the players who hadn't been there, most obviously with Copeland and Tooney?
Yeah, Copeland and Tony, really no real word there. I think earlier, right as practice was getting under, Dan Mullen said that he had been talking to them, but really no real word as of yet. Obviously, it's good to get Zach Carter back out there, good to get Trey Grimes back out there for Florida. They both have said that they're coming back, and they have been. But as far as the other two, no real word yet. It's one of those things, Rick, where you think the more publicity gets out there and the more they see, if indeed things continue on a positive trend for Florida, where we've been told they have no issues right now and haven't had any for several weeks, then things would be pretty good. But of course, you had move-in day at the University of Florida earlier about midweek of last week. So you hope you don't see any bad things happening on that trend. And of course, school starts at Florida on the 31st.
Yeah, we've seen some of these places that started school already. Obviously we talked about Notre Dame and North Carolina, the issues they've had. But I think when you look at the SEC pushing the kickoff to the 26th, Sankey envisioned this was going to, have the possibility of happening.
Exactly. And Rick, the thing when the NCAA said, look, we'll give you guys a week's zero if you want to play in that, I really had some hope. And granted, it was a long shot, but I thought, if something were to happen during the season, it sure would be good to get that first weekend and possibly get it before all those students come get really on campus and start having those parties and contaminate things. At least you get one game in, but it wasn't in the cards for the SEC teams. And although I got to admit I would have liked to have seen it, but it may have been a bit too much to expect that.
Yeah, I think to me, it seems odd. We're going to have, 5 weeks of preseason camp going on, and then we had the walkthroughs they had going on, it seems really weird. But let's go, getting on the field with Florida. How's their defense looking this year? I know they've lost some last year, but how's their defense looking?
Rick, I think they're underrated. I really do. In the columns that I've seen from national media and regional media, you read things like the Gators should have a good defense. The Gators should have a pretty good defense. I think this defense has the possibility of being very, very good. And here's why. There are two areas on this team where you have a lot of veteran leadership. Interior defensive line, they have 3 tackles who are seniors. They lost one, Elijah Conliff. Unfortunately, he's never come back from this foot injury, so he's a medical hardship. He's not going to be able to play. Of course, he'll keep his scholarship. But here's another veteran guy that's played football for Florida. He didn't play last year because of the injury and just hasn't been able to come back this year. But I mean, 3 seniors in the interior defensive line, that's unbelievable. Plus, you get a 5-star kid in Gervon Dexter who's coming in to Florida from Lake Wales at D tackle. So he's the guy that's going to play some there. You got to believe. They got a couple other kids who they're hoping they can get some things out of. We'll see. Awfully young. It's a weird group though. And it's the same thing at safety. You've got the veterans there, and then you've got the real young freshmen. On the back end of the defense at safety, Florida's got 4 seniors. Now, they haven't played especially well under Dan Mullen. It's been a hit-or-miss group, but you would think that now you're at your senior year that this might be the time to kind of put it all together and have a better year.
You got to get that paycheck.
You
When you're looking at Florida's defense, and Georgia fans know it firsthand from their time with Todd Grantham, and it seems to show its head the last couple of years in the at the cocktail party. I think Austin already knows where I'm going with this. Yeah. The 3rd and Grantham, is that really an issue down in Gainesville?
It sure as hell was for the Georgia game. That was a 12 of 18. You put Georgia in 18 third down situations and they convert 12. That just killed you. And it did. It really did. Yeah, I think. It's a problem for Florida. It really is. I mean, there's some issues there that obviously I don't know what it is about that 3rd down. Florida fans had a good time saying 3rd and Grantham back when he was in Athens, but they're not liking it too much right now.
Yeah, firsthand ain't near as fun as it is on the other side.
What do you think it is? Do you think it's because it does seem to be a bigger issue against Georgia in Jacksonville? So. Do you think it's an emotional thing? You think maybe the defense gets a little out of pocket, they get a little worked up, they get a little, undisciplined, in that moment?
I think there have been times when that's happened, but I don't think that's the sole issue.
Right.
I think that it's just various things. Look, you can't just say it's a Florida issue. At some point, you do have to credit Georgia. They've got some pretty good personnel up in Athens. So
yeah, most definitely.
I honestly, I think on one hand, you tip your hat to Georgia because they've got talented people and they just whipped you. I think there are some times, though, where Florida, it has gotten a little emotional because Georgia's had the upper hand and Florida's been behind. And we know how that rivalry is. When you start falling behind in those games,
right?
You have that, oh, man, moment. We can't let this happen. And then it happens, and then, boom, next thing you know, you're in another 3rd down, and you go, come on. And that just hasn't worked out for the University of Florida. It really has at times.
Now, let's jump on the other side of the ball real quick. I want to ask you about the Emory Jones, Kyle Trask. How do you see that working out with Mullen? It's Emory Jones. He's a guy from Georgia, so we're familiar with watching him, and we've been waiting on him, and he seems like the kind of quarterback Mullen would, excel at having. Is he finally going to get some playing time this year?
I think he is. I really do. And the thing that I see happening with Emory is one thing that Mullen really likes. He wants a quarterback that can go out there and obviously, as all coaches do, a guy that can really be apt in decision making. And what they've done is they put Emory in some interesting situations, in part on 3rd down or 2nd down, I should say, because Florida's had real difficulty in short yardage situations last year. So you would see at times Emory Jones in there like a 2nd and 3, and that way there's some flexibility because the kid can run. But It's going to be interesting. Dan Mullen said he has packages available for him, that he's really interested in getting him out there. We would expect to see an 80-20 situation, because it's going to set up much like 2006 for Florida when Dan was the offensive coordinator, and you had Chris Leak, who really wasn't effective running the football, much like Kyle Trask. And then you had a Tim Tebow behind him. Well, now you got an Emory Jones that can run the ball. Obviously, Emory's throwing the ball pretty well. We've seen his accuracy get improved in Gainesville a bit. Obviously, we'd like to be out there right now watching it. But, we all would. But I think it's probably, at best, it'll probably be an 80-20 situation, possibly, maybe even an 85-15.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I've been waiting to see it, and I figured every year when we go down to when Georgia goes down, that's the time. This is when it's going. He's going to bring the rabbit out of the hat.
Right.
And it just hadn't never really seemed to be the time. Even like last year, I think Georgia had a 13-point lead, and you're thinking this would be a good time. It just stays with Trask, which the Kyle Trask story. Why don't you tell people a little bit about him being the backup quarterback, not just in college but in high school, than where he's at now from where he was in high school?
It really is one of the best stories in college football. It really is. When the rumors started swirling, with those of us in the media and some guys that cover recruiting, I do not handle recruiting full time, but I like watching. I really do. I used to be a guy that made those calls years and years ago. But when we started hearing about it, we thought, Kyle Trask. And you're looking up information, and there's nothing out there. And you're going, okay, Mandel High School. There's a kid named Garrett King quarterback there. What? And then you find out he's the backup, and you're thinking, oh, good grief. But Nussmeier went down to Texas. He saw him and loved him, and said, "This is a kid we can groom and develop into a quarterback. He's throws a really catchable ball, throws a good deep ball, got a strong arm. He's got size. He's just not a fit for that offense in high school, and they know it." So, and he's not a kid that wanted to transfer and go somewhere else. So, he was what, a 2-star, I think, listed out of high school. And then when he got to the Florida camps, or even before that, Florida fans many of them just went ballistic. This is a ridiculous decision by Nussmeier and McElwain. What are they doing? They can't have this at the University of Florida, the school that's had Danny Werfel, Tim Tebow, Rick Stroessman, Shane Matthews, some of these guys in recent years, going back to 1990 or so. But when we saw him in practice those first time, guys, I got to tell you, I looked around at some of the other media guys, and we would talk. We were, wow, this kid throws a really accurate pass. This kid's got an arm. He's pretty good. This kid was a backup in high school. It really did kind of take you back, but it's a great story. He's a very humble kid. He got his shot, of course, really came through in the Kentucky game when Felipe Franks went down, and he led Florida to the victory, and it just looked good, and it's looked good ever since.
Yeah, I mean, it surprised me when you first see him going out there, and you're like, well, this guy's a 2-star. He ain't going to be that good. And then they're going 10 wins as a year with him.
Yeah.
Shows where he's at. One last question before I get you out of here, and I'm just going to put you on the spot with it. Is this the year for Florida to break through and go back to Atlanta?
Well, we all hope so. I'm on board. I think the world of Mullen. And, Grantham, I like Grantham. There's some there agreeing. We talked about the issues on third down. But I really thought in terms of coaching that I would give Mullen and his staff the nod over Kirby and company, but not this year. Last year they were flat out coached by Kirby Smart and his staff in Jacksonville, both sides of the ball, and they handled Florida.
Yeah.
Now it's kind of now I got to believe that had to humble Dan Mullen. And look, Mullen's going to hear it in the weeks leading up to that Florida-Georgia game, guys. So I don't think it bodes well in that situation. But I think this is finally the year in terms of talent overall. The key for Florida, guys, is going to be that offensive line. That offensive line was not very good last year. Short yardage situations was a disaster because you had to put the ball in the hands of Kyle Trask. That's going to be one of the keys. And look, that Georgia defense we know is going to be awfully good. So it's going to be fun. But another loss to Kirby Smart.
Wouldn't
And
be
yes,
good.
you better believe Florida fans are going to be talking a little bit about, hey, Dan, it's time to, kind of go back to the early days of Steve Spurrier. And this is why Spurrier came to Florida is, one thing, you circle that calendar because you better start beating Georgia.
Yeah, that's Georgia went through that where it seemed every year Georgia could beat everybody on the schedule and then found a way to lose down in Jacksonville. And Mullen seems to be doing that where, y'all are doing great against everybody else. And there's that one hiccup.
Yeah.
And I ain't seen that in this rivalry since probably the 80s where that was going on.
Yeah. And look, the games have been close from a score perspective, a points perspective, but they really – you and I both know, and everybody listening, they haven't been that close.
No.
The scoreboard is a bit different story than what's happening on the field, where Georgia is flat winning the line of scrimmage against the Gators on both sides of the ball.
And, I think you're talking about the coaching last year when Georgia was up, I think it was 14 points. And Florida took 6 minutes to drive down the field and basically ran the clock out on themselves.
Yeah.
And I think right there that was just, Kirby playing chess with them, saying, okay, I'll give you 4 yards like that.
Yeah, he felt him out, and they was willing to do it. So
and I think that
ride.
was definitely an out-coach moment where Mullen's like, I just got burned by James Coley and Jake Fromm.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's no question. And remember, what is this, 40th anniversary of Herschel Walker?
Yeah.
And Florida, the 1980. Yeah, don't think that's not going to come up too. So that's going to come up before the game. So if Georgia beats Florida again, then I'm telling you, there are going to be some Gator fans that are going to question Mullen. And the first thing they're going to take is some of the things that Florida fans and the media, like guys like me, are questioning about recruiting now. Florida's doing a really good job recruiting, but there's some changes. There's some things that need to happen because there's some kids that are missing on it at running back.
Yeah, the guys Meyer never missed on.
Yeah, over other positions where that shouldn't be happening at a school like Florida. It shouldn't be happening at a school like Georgia or LSU or anyone else. And I think overall myself, I would like to see one guy on that staff replaced and bring in another home run recruiting guy.
Yeah, and you think Brewster's that home run recruiting guy?
Well, he did a great job against Florida when he was under Jimbo here. So we like that. I mean, it's going to take a little bit of time. I also think the positive for Florida is going to be facility. Obviously, they've broken ground now. They're getting ready to break ground on the standalone football facility as they've wiped out the Keaton Stadium, the baseball stadium. So that's going to be a plus for Florida because Florida was behind in the facilities race. And it was embarrassing. It really was. So that standalone football facility is going to be a big help for Florida, I think. But I do think there's one guy that, they need to get another guy on that staff that can recruit. I would have liked to have seen Dan keep Juwan Sider at running back coach and, go down and get some of those Palm Beach County, Broward County, Dade County kids. But they've done pretty well in Dade County. But certainly there's some kids down there, and Sider's a name and a guy who knows how to recruit. But it would have been nice to keep him, but Dan wanted to bring in Greg Knox. And that's a plus for Florida in terms of the overall. The staff at Florida, the continuity has been there, and that's a plus for Florida. But good Lord, you got to get Georgia off the field on third down, or if they kill you again, I'm telling you, that's going to be a bit of a sticking point for Florida fans.
Yeah, I think it's going to boil over a little bit. And I think also if they go into Jacksonville and there is some offensive hiccups, I think Kyle Trask's leash could become pretty short, pretty quick.
Yeah, it could be. Again, the plus for Florida is that quarterback room is so much better than it was under Jim McElwain.
Yeah,
it really is. It is so much better, and that's a plus. Anthony Richardson coming in from Eastside High School here in Gainesville, a kid who is going to redshirt, and they got Del Rio coming in. I mean, they've got some good kids coming in, so that's going to be down the road. That's a plus, but it's better right now because last year I don't know if they could have turned if something had happened to Trask and depended on Emory Jones. Well, it's kind of the same situation now, but at least in this one, your backup has a lot more experience than even Kyle Trask had last year when he stepped into that Kentucky game.
Yeah. All right, Mark. Well, I appreciate you calling in. I know y'all got them storms coming up there over in the Panhandle side, so be safe with them multiple storms coming up there.
All right, thanks, guys. Always a pleasure to be on with you, Rick.
All right, appreciate it, bud.
All right, bye-bye.
Yeah, we appreciate Mark calling in. It's he was talking about the coaching. You saw the stat.
I like Grantham.
Yeah. What about Dan Mullen's been held under 300 yards 3 times the last 3 years?
Yeah.
Mississippi State was against Georgia in the last 2 years against Georgia is the only team. So I think it's kind of Kirby knows that Mullen offense. He knows.
Yeah, well, Mullen's current platform, he can only go so far because, as good as his scheme may be or may not be, whatever you want to look at.
Yeah, I think, obviously we know where Kirby learned that from when he was over at Bama and Mullen was at Mississippi State. But, yeah, that game.
I think Mullen's just got to increase the talent level to even begin to really close the gap with the other.
And we know the cocktail party is going to decide the East. I really think we're about to get into these records and stuff for the teams. I think the West still going to come down to the Iron Bowl. And, for Georgia, Florida, and then Auburn, Alabama, it's just fun to have your biggest game as far as rivalry is also the biggest game as far as who wins the division.
Right.
I mean, Yankees-Red Sox is a great rivalry in baseball, but it's better when the division or, the whole league championship is on the line. It just makes the rivalry that much better.
Yeah.
All right, Austin.
Duke, North Carolina, same thing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's better when they play it. I like watching McCameron and all that, but when they play in Greensboro, the ACC championship,
it's a big
just
deal.
Adds to it. Looking at the schedule and now the records for each team, how do you think the East is going to play out?
I think Georgia takes the East, obviously. I mean, people are going to call me a homer, but I mean, if you're not picking Georgia to win the East, then you're playing yourself at this point.
You think they're going to be able to run the table during the regular season?
Yeah, I do.
Do you?
I do. I think the real test is so early in the season, Auburn, Bama. I think if they can weather that, which I do think they're talented enough to, at this point, I do think, maybe in 2017, that was just a team that was playing, just playing outside of itself, really.
Yeah.
But now I feel like the talent's really caught up.
How do you see Florida playing out?
Florida, I see them going 8-2, dropping 2 games.
Yeah, I got Florida 7-3. But I think Tennessee beats them end of the year. That game being moved to the end of the year.
Yeah, there were some that was a coin toss for me, and that was one of them.
Yeah, but. I mean, you're looking at a Tennessee team, and I got Tennessee going 7-3. And it seems later in the year they really turn it on.
Right.
Early in the year they got Bama and Georgia in like a 3-week period.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard for anybody.
They need to just make it through that with their dignity, and they'll be able to rebound.
Yeah, I mean, but they got to play Missouri, then Vanderbilt, Arkansas, so they have a shot at that. So, pretty much if I just had to run down, I got Kentucky 4-6, South Carolina 3-7, then Missouri and Vanderbilt. I both got 1-9. I think the SEC is going to eat each other up.
Yeah,
and that's what's going to happen for some of these lesser.
I think
teams.
It's going to be a little bit worse for the West though, as far as their top
3
kind of preying on each other.
That's kind of how I got it going. I think Bama's going to go 10-0. I think they're going to beat Georgia in the regular season, and I kind of feel whoever loses that game has the advantage in the SEC championship.
Right.
Now I think Georgia will have the advantage because they'll have 10 games under Todd Monken compared to 3.
Because the rematch, kind of dynamic.
I was telling somebody the other day, to expect Georgia to beat Nick Saban twice in 1 year when they haven't been able to beat him once in the last 10 years is asking a lot.
Right.
So but I got Auburn going 8-2, and here's why: I think they're really good. I think their defense is going to be really, really good. They got to show that they can win at Georgia and at Alabama.
Yeah.
Now, fans, I know they got 20%, and it's 18 to 23,000 in Athens. But maybe it's not just the fan base, not just the crowd noise. Auburn has a great home field advantage. I think Georgia has just out X and O'd when they come to Athens. Now they got better talent. The year that Georgia lost to Carry-On just happened to be at Jordan-Hare.
Right.
But the fans had a lot to do with that at Jordan-Hare too. Yeah. But until Auburn can show that they can get over that hump, it's just like in the odd year, they got to show they can win at LSU.
Yeah, that's where I got Auburn at 7-3 because I do think
Yeah, I think then real quick, I'll just run down real quick and then you can. I got A&M and Ole Miss going 6-4. I think Ole Miss is going to have a pretty good year. Okay. I think they kind of do it towards the end of the year.
Yeah.
And I hadn't mentioned LSU yet. I think they're going 5-5.
Yeah. Ooh.
They've lost 18 players off the team last year.
Yeah.
And they didn't just lose Joe Brady. They lost Dave Armada. They lost their defensive coordinator. They can say what they want. They lost their offensive coordinator when they lost Brady. And then they lost Burrow. And they lost too much to replace. Yeah. And I think you got 3 ahead of you with Auburn, A&M, and Alabama. And then you got some toss-up games. You got games like Ole Miss. They're going to give LSU fits.
Absolutely, yeah.
I mean, they gave them fits last year.
Yeah, they did. They had a lot of yards.
Then Mississippi State, I got 3-7. Arkansas, boy.
What you got, 0-9?
I got 0-10.
Oh, 0-10, yeah.
Do you think they're going to win a game?
You know, I really think they're going to just stumble their way into one.
Did you see that? I saw the
I think they're just going to fall into a win against somebody somewhere.
anonymous coach was talking. Did you see what they said about Arkansas?
No.
It said the roster looks like it's been depleted by NCAA infractions. Now, when you haven't had NCAA infractions and people say that, that's bad. Not just, we talked about it early on. There's a reason coaches didn't want to go to Arkansas.
Yeah.
I mean, you can recruit Texas. That's where Sam Pittman's going to make some. If he's going to make anything down there, he's got to dip into Texas and recruit that state.
Yeah,
and get him.
Which is going to be hard to do right now.
Right. Well, because A&M's
killing it.
Theoretically, with Jimbo Fisher, they're about to turn the corner.
Yeah.
And now, whether they do or not, we'll have to see. But you would think Texas with their
Tom
Herman, you would think that Herman and Fisher, these guys are going to get the ball rolling.
And that's not even counting.
Then LSU goes into Texas all the time.
That's not counting Lincoln Riley dipping into North Texas and Dallas and all them places. So
offensive players hard to get because Lincoln Riley getting them.
Yeah.
Then Herman's an offensive guy too. If you're just flipping on, we only got about a half hour left. Make sure you hit that like and hit that share button. Get it out there. We're trying to really get cranked up for football season. We're excited about football. That's why we just kind of get on some of these tangents on these things. We are going to talk about the Braves here in a little bit.
Well, we are.
Yeah, it barely. Austin. That ain't a good day for Austin. We got Braves, and we talked to a guy from Gainesville.
Yeah,
that's really not what.
Blood pressure going up.
Yeah, getting Austin riled up over there, and the guy talking out coaching when Mark said out coaching Kirby.
Yeah,
which Mullen hadn't ever just showed in the whole. Even at Mississippi State, he never out coached anybody.
Yeah,
it's hard for me to fathom. It seems like Kirby gets disrespected, but you know what? Until he wins that championship, he's going to keep hearing it. That's all that's going to happen. But do you think so? If Arkansas don't go 0-10, if they go 0-10, it's a freebie for Pittman.
Yeah.
You think it's just
just because of the circumstances, they'll let it ride.
I feel that's going to be like that for all these coaches.
Yeah.
But man, it's still kind of like a.
I mean, you still want to put your best foot forward.
Yeah.
But,
But it's just so hard because you didn't have a spring. You didn't have
right.
all this stuff, and you're getting Pittman. And hey, your prize for being a head coach, you get Georgia the first game.
Yeah.
We're going to give it to you at home, but we're going
to get all your old linemen
Yeah.
come beat up on you a little bit.
Yeah, you're going to have 20% capacity. Go get them. So that's going to be a lot. You know what? I'll go right into the Braves talk real quick. I know Alex watches the Braves games as I do all the time, and we got this Charlie Culberson comment on the board. Braves got two guys hitting under 200, and they got Charlie Culberson sitting on a bench. And what Austin, just being a sports guy, as a fan, when do you just draw the line? Like, come on, give us a break.
I already drew it.
I mean,
you know what I mean?
You got two guys that, Austin Riley hit the home run last night. But, okay, what did he do the whole week before?
Right.
And, it just seems right now the Braves are pretty much just winning because the Phillies' bullpen is horrendous.
Worse than ours?
Oh, yeah. Braves got a good bullpen. Braves bullpen is,
they ain't got a starting pitching.
Yeah, but that's the problem with the bullpen. They just throw 6 innings every game.
Yeah, they can't.
So it's hard to get your stats really packed up.
Yeah.
Well, the Phillies ERA as a bullpen's over 10. Come on.
That's horrible. That's really bad. That's like world record bad.
I was texting Alex last night. It was like 4-0. And I told him, I said, just wait till the 7th inning. We'll get in the bullpen and we'll win the game. 8th inning, the Braves took a 5-4 lead. So, the Braves got the Yankees coming up. They've really struggled with the Yankees. God, it seems like every time we play them, it used to be like every 4 years. If the Braves can win those games and establish some kind of confidence, even with the Yankees being beat up, I think they might be able to have, I think they're going to win the division, but they got to get some confidence when they get into the playoffs to have a run. And think about the playoffs this year when you have college football and that going on, and it's going to be an extended playoff. So it's going to be some exciting times. We're about to really get exciting with this whole football schedule. Think about the ease and flow we've done this year with football being canceled, not being canceled, playing, regular schedule.
It's been a roller coaster.
Yeah, they're going to go to 8 games. Now we're going to do 10 games. And so right now we're at the peak of excitement. I mean, it's exciting. Anytime you get in press conferences.
Well, speaking of that, man, we got people clamoring to have some college football questions here. Johnny Webster saying he's thinking Florida has 2 to 3 losses. Yeah, that's that's about where I got Florida at 8-2, 7-3.
I think A&M can beat them.
Yeah,
I
agree with that. I think LSU can beat them.
Yeah,
I would still feel that even with LSU's depletion, I think they can muster up enough.
I think A&M. I'm like this. I like A&M. I think they're going to be a really good team.
Yeah,
but I don't think they're going to be able to beat Alabama and Auburn, and that's going to be kind of their bugaboo. Is that's a big hurdle. It's not nobody else has that in another conference.
right.
That's only in the SEC you're going to have that problem. Then like last year for A&M, hey, you get to play Georgia too. Clemson don't go through murderer's row like that.
Yeah, definitely not.
And so, I think A&M, Georgia, and like I said, Tennessee. And, Tennessee could beat them at the end of the year. Tennessee usually plays good at the end of the year.
Yeah, they're just going to have to show me.
But let me say this about Tennessee, like last season, how well they played at the end of the year. They also played Vanderbilt, Missouri, South Carolina. They played, the easier part of their schedules at the end of the year.
Games they were supposed to win anyway.
Yeah, and so –
but they lose.
But
games
they also
they're
lost to
supposed
Georgia
win
State
too,
early, so it
yeah.
was an improvement. I mean, at the end of the day, they did have an improvement.
We got Billy H. Cox asking, can UGA still win the East with 1 loss? Yeah, Billy, I think so, because I think, like we were just speaking on, I think Florida will drop a few.
But even if they don't.
And even if you lose to Florida, they drop a few, and you'll break the tie, So I think Georgia gets in with just 1.
Yeah, I mean, I think if, say, Georgia loses at Bryant-Denny, that's going to be motivation to play them again, like we saw against Auburn with Georgia a few years ago. And, it's bad. These guys want Alabama.
Yeah.
Okay, especially the guys that are seniors that were there for the championship. They want Alabama. They know how important that game is and what they want to do for the end, which is win the championship, which, Austin, let's talk about that for a little bit. People talk about the asterisk next to the national championship.
Yeah.
How small do you think that asterisk is? I think it's non-existent when you look at it.
Yeah, if Georgia wins one, I'm going to claim it. I don't care what about any asterisks
Well,
anybody
first
might
off,
be trying to put on it. I mean, you're missing Ohio State.
That's it.
That's it.
And
you can replace them with Oklahoma.
And who's to say they don't lose to Purdue again like they did a couple years ago?
Or Iowa.
Yeah. And so you're not missing. Now, if SEC wasn't involved, it's not a legit championship.
Yeah.
And the stats back that up. Well, it played in 14 of the last 15.
Right.
2 of those were 2 SEC teams against each other.
Yeah.
The SEC has shown enough to say it's not
the 3 conferences that are playing have been in the playoff
every
for consecutive
year, the last 3 years.
Yeah.
I mean, you look at the last 3 playoffs, Clemson, Oklahoma, and somebody from the SEC, whether it be Georgia, Alabama, or LSU, which that shows you the depth of the conference.
Right.
Is we're listing so many teams from the SEC, and, I don't think there's no asterisk by it at all. Yeah. And plus, the Big Ten, they backed out on their own. So it's kind of on them. They'll
be the ones that say,
the
ones holding the asterisk.
Yeah.
Well, they can hold an asterisk. We'll just hold a trophy, and they can watch from the house.
They're not going to play in the spring. I don't know why they even say that, just to try.
They're not playing in the spring.
No, you can't play in the spring.
They're not playing in the spring.
Even they want to go indoors, which that makes zero sense.
Relating to that subject, Johnny Webster asking, do y'all think the season will make it 10 games without the media and politics shutting it down? Yeah, I think so, Johnny, just based off once you give people football, their hunger for it's going to be so
I mean, look at baseball.
Unquenchable.
Look at baseball. You got to think, football, the big difference with football is the travel.
Yeah.
They're not in a bubble. And it's the amount of people
with
the travel. Baseball traveling with coaches, maybe 50 people.
Right.
And so early on in baseball, when the Marlins had their little outbreak, and then the Cardinals, everybody said, well, baseball's about to get shut down.
Yeah.
Because that's the first thing people want to go to.
Well, I mean, all this time off campus, I mean, a lot of these kids could already had it. And
I think herd immunity at colleges is already through the roof. Look at Clemson. They had 40 players with it. 0 hospitalizations.
Yeah.
It's rocking and rolling.
Yeah.
And that's campuses all throughout. I'm not saying it happened, but, some of these coaches probably wanted something like that to happen, but they'll never be able to publicly admit it.
Right.
Is
a bunch of people get it way before.
You have your whole team get it in May.
Yeah.
And then you just have the herd immunity.
While they're off campus, they get it. They get over it. They come back. Let's go to work.
And to sit here and think that hadn't gone through people's minds on these campuses, you're lying to yourself. Because these guys' number one job, no matter what they say, when you're getting $6, $7, $8 million a year, you want to win. You don't care if you got to cut your mama's legs off. You want to win.
Tyler Morrison saying the Masters all during football season. Yeah, Tyler, I was going to bring that up. That's going to be pretty cool. You have college football and the Masters popping off on the same day.
That's like November 14th, I think.
Yeah.
It was supposed to be when Georgia was playing Tennessee, and it was a home game for Georgia.
Yeah.
So you would have had the Masters and the Tennessee. It was going to be pretty neat. Now, I think Georgia might have got Mississippi State or something that week, and it's a home game, but only 20%, and the Masters have no fans.
Yeah.
So you don't get as prestigious, but it'll be pretty neat to watch.
If anybody who works for the Masters watching this, y'all let us in, man. I heard about them pimento cheese sandwiches.
Look, even if we can't get in, just give me one of them flags with the Masters on it, or Bubba Light. I know he watches the show. He lives up in Augusta. Hook me up with a visor or something.
Yeah, man, send us something.
Send me
Hey,
something.
You guys think it'll be different with Auburn not playing in November, playing Georgia? I mean, that's
Yeah, it's
something
gonna
we're
be
used to our
different.
whole life,
Yeah.
you know?
Yeah, I
It's
think
going to be
some-
crazy.
And with no other game, when it's the second game of the year, and I think, that really goes advantage Georgia with the Georgia defense being so, senior laden and junior.
They're already ready to go.
They're so
I think
experienced.
Georgia has an advantage in that.
The what?
Georgia has the advantage
Yeah.
playing early.
Yeah.
Yeah, with it being early, it goes on that side of the ball. Now the Georgia offense,
Well, there still won't be much film out there either. So, it
Yeah,
it
but
could
I
be
mean,
double advantage.
I think
Georgia,
Kevin
but-
Steele's got a great defense at Auburn. I think
Yeah.
it's not gonna be a 40, 30-point game. It'll be like last year's game.
Yeah, I don't think it's obviously there's no Derek Brown on the roster, but I mean I think Kevin Steele's definitely he makes sure guys meet their assignments and there's no
their linebacker-
undisciplined stuff going on.
With Owen Popo and KJ Britt at linebacker,
Yeah.
they're gonna
Be able to make some plays. man.
they're gonna have, and then you still got Big Cat down there on the
Yeah.
end, and then on the
I
back,
forget about Big Cat, man. He's
yeah,
still
hey,
there.
and you still got the best name in football with
That
Smoke
dude's
Monday.
like 30.
Yeah, you still got Smoke Monday on the backside with Chris.
Yeah.
They got some talent on
They
that
got
defense.
playmakers.
That them players got overshadowed last year with Derek Brown,
Right.
and it's not to say
Well, because the
Derek Brown-
defense was so nasty. I mean, they weren't getting many
but Derek Brown was that good.
opportunities.
Derek Brown was pretty good. I mean,
Yeah.
you got to think he single-handedly kept them in that LSU
Yeah.
game by allowing them to play that defensive front they played.
Right.
Was him getting pressure on Joe Burrow.
Yeah, it was
by
the same
himself.
thing Georgia did, but didn't quite have the
Georgia
juice.
didn't have
to-
Derek Brown.
Yeah, they didn't
You
have the
put
juice
Derek
on the
Brown-
front line to
You put
get it
Derek
done.
Brown in red and black in the SEC championship. That's a whole nother ball game.
Yeah.
A whole nother ball game.
And the
Even
way
with-
they schemed it up was so beautiful, man. You got a pressure right up the middle, and
they took Kevin
they-
Steele and just which if you wanted coaching tree, people like to do the coaching tree deal.
Yeah.
Kevin Steele was the defensive coordinator and Kirby was his assistant coach the first year at Alabama.
Okay.
These guys
He's been around, man.
Yeah, but they know each other.
Yeah.
They know how each other work. He can look at Kirby can look at a Kevin Steele defense and he knows how to break it down because he did it for so long.
So you're saying they be playing these mind games with each other?
Oh man, ain't
you
no
know?
doubt. Ain't no doubt. And these coaches in the SEC especially, they know each
Yeah.
other so well.
It's fun to watch. It really is, and it's fun to watch Kirby get inside Mullins' head in Jacksonville too.
Yeah, I mean that's why somebody like Kendall Browse coming in. Now it's Arkansas, so we really won't see it because he ain't got no talent to go with it. And Felipe Franks, that says all.
Man, Tyler Morrison says Jimbo is overrated. He needs
if he
Mond to
goes-
steal some crab legs. Maybe then they can win.
How long we talk about every week? How long Kellen Mund's been at A&M?
Yeah. Yeah,
Who
he's
was
been
it,
there
Hunter?
forever, dude.
Who was a Hunter Renfro? And now with the eligibility, he can come back next year.
Yeah, he can, and
Just
that's
like-
what Tyler was also asking about. So, how many seniors stay for next season, and how is the roster management on that going to work?
That's something I'm wondering because you got the 85.
Yeah,
How's that going to work?
they'll exempt.
But it's hot to what number?
Yeah,
I mean, because if they go unlimited, you just go get transfers and all kind of stuff.
yeah. I think they'll put a number on it, maybe 10.
10. I mean, because that's going to affect recruiting.
You know.
Because, if you're recruiting a linebacker and he goes, well, this guy's graduating.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden he's not graduating, you got to think, well, maybe I can go somewhere else for playing time. So, I mean, yeah, there's a lot of it's problems these coaches. It ain't a problem for the coaches, but it is.
Yeah.
I mean, these coaches already got a lot going on to get, the game day is what you get paid for, but you got to recruit, you got to handle PR, and you got to handle this roster number. I think Georgia's at 87 right now.
Yeah, they are at 87.
So you're
What
looking.
you gonna do? Cut somebody? What is this? NFL camp
Yeah,
now?
I mean, you have to find a way to get out of it, and they will. This is what they get paid.
yeah, they'll gray
money
shirt
for.
or whatever they got to do.
Whatever
they'll sit
they,
somebody
but they'll
down.
find the right guy. To,
Yeah.
Somebody with an injury or whatnot.
Yeah.
and find a way to get around it.
Somebody who's maybe struggling to get eligible. I mean, there's always a couple of those. So
Yeah. So this week, we'll talk going in with football this week. I think Kirby's got a press conference tomorrow, and I think Nick Saban. I don't think Gus does. They're off on Monday, so they're not going to have nothing coming out of Auburn tomorrow. It's fun. I can't even. It's like finally getting something that edge knocked off because
Yeah.
now it's here. It's
Yeah.
football season's here.
It's here.
When I got the practice video watching from I think it was Alabama, and they hit, and it's just no music, just coaches yelling and hitting.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, man, here we are.
Yeah,
We never
it's
thought we was
time.
going to get here.
Yeah.
And, you feel bad for the guys in the Big Ten ain't getting that.
Yeah.
But in Ohio, you can have high school football.
Yeah.
and they're going to get NFL football, just not Ohio State football. And
sucks for them.
for us, we had in this area Glenwood and Bessemer played. That was a rematch of the state championship over in Alabama.
Right.
But Hoover and Central played, and I'm telling you, football season is here.
Oh, that's
and
gonna
high
be-
school's kicking off in Georgia in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I think September 4th. I think I'm going to go to the Troop Harris County game. I talked to Coach Fox up at Harris County. They got some, he's telling me the rules they got. The players got to be socially distanced on the bench, on the sideline. So they're going to go from the 10 to the 10. They're going to have everybody has their own drinking bottle. Can't share them like you used to. So, they got certain rules that they're trying to get going. Like he said, it's muscle memory now. They've been doing it so long for practice. They wear masks for weightlifting. So, I mean, there's going to be social distance in the crowd. They're going to have all these new rules. But it shows what extent that we go to for football.
Right.
High school football don't matter. We want football.
Yeah.
And, I think it's going to be fun. I think, finally watching just high school football, that's usually where it really cranks up getting excited for college because it's right around the corner. This year we get 2 NFL games
Yeah.
before we get that. And, hey, how about the Falcons that practice?
Yeah. Falcons making moves, man. I've seen some footage of A.J. Terrell and Julio Jones matching up one-on-one earlier this week. And, it's looking good, man. A.J. made a play on a ball. I mean, I think that's pretty crazy to see as a rookie coming in. And, even if it's just camp, he's running stride for stride.
Well, it's a rookie with no
Julio.
preseason games.
Yeah.
So you think when they play the Seahawks the first game,
Right.
you're just stepping right out on the field.
Yeah,
I
he's
mean,
got to be
it's-
ready to go. And I think, the best way to do that is to put him on Julio and make him rep those 1v1 type deals.
Going against Julio. Then if you take the 2, you're going with Calvin Ridley, so you're really not.
Yeah, it's not a drop off of Calvin Ridley because his route running is very dangerous.
Yeah, his biggest thing so far, he's just behind Julio.
Yeah.
So he don't get the recognition that he would probably deserve. I think.
But now, like we talked about last week with the added balance of Todd Gurley, I think, you can attack, Matt Ryan has a choice to attack both edges of the field,
Yeah.
Todd Gurley.
But and I like Hayden. I like the Aden Hurst at tight
Oh, yeah,
end.
that's dangerous
And,
up the middle.
Man, it's so long you see that hole right there in the middle.
Yeah.
And the Falcons
I
always
see a lot of rub routes in Calvin Ridley's and Hayden Hurst's future.
Who was it? Hooper they had?
Yeah.
That even going way back, Algie Crumpler.
Yeah.
I mean,
Hooper's in Cleveland now.
Yeah, he's in Cleveland.
It's your boy now.
Now, the Cleveland had an odd series of events this week. Let me just
Yeah,
this is
break
what
it
I
down.
deal. This is what I deal with as a Browns fan. Just go and tell y'all what a weekend of Browns fan is practice. Nick Chubb gets hit in the head, has a concussion protocol by Mac Wilson.
Next day, Mac Wilson gets
Mac
called
Wilson
up.
hurts his knee. Now you got your best linebacker and your best running back
Banged up.
and one of them. Why you hit your franchise running back in the head at practice?
Yeah.
And you're like, what an idiot! And you're kind of thinking Mac Wilson's an idiot.
Then
Then
you're
you're like, oh
trying
man,
to.
don't be hurt. I wanted
Yeah.
to be mad at you for a day.
Yeah.
I didn't want you to get hurt for that
So
long.
it's been a rough week at the mistake by the lake, huh?
Mistake the man. It's pitiful. I don't even. That's why.
I don't. I'm not gonna kid. I really think Cleveland has some of the best talent in the league,
Oh,
and
man.
there's no excuse for them to not make a playoff run.
Landry's
this year.
coming back, and it's with Beckham. But Odell Beckham, he made one good catch in New York against the Cowboys, the falling back catch.
Yeah.
He's rode that thing for 4 or 5 years,
Yeah, yes.
and really,
It was an amazing catch, though.
It was
I
a
mean,
great catch.
But the dude's got mad speed, though. At the same time, like he can make plays, man.
But them catches don't impress me
Yeah.
as much because them gloves is what it is.
Yeah.
That the Julio catch in the Super Bowl on the sidelines, falling back,
Right.
falling down, that's a catch.
Yeah.
That's a great catch. That's
AJ Green versus Colorado, that was a catch.
yeah,
Remember
that,
that
man, kind that when you're using your whole body and you got your discipline, you got your balance. It's just freaky receiver. A lot of good receivers are out there.
Yeah.
But there's not that many that are just the freaks.
There's no Randy Mosses left.
Man, when him and Chris Carter together, boy, just think if you've been old enough to really enjoy that.
That'd
I
be
mean, you
great.
saw Moss at the end of his career when he was at Brady.
Yeah.
And all he did was run goes.
Yeah, I'll just run a go.
Just run and go.
There's no need to turn or do anything.
And I think that's what Mike Evans is going to do down in Tampa this year
yeah.
with we talked about me being a Browns fan, but I'm going to go for Tampa this year.
Yeah.
They're local as far as, with the Falcons. I get to see them at least twice this year. But, that's all the time we got this week. Austin, you want to say anything?
No, man, just excited to see the dogs back out there and chop some wood, dog. That's it.
Yeah, I think, it's, the excitement for us through here with, like we said, high school and college coming up. When you can flip it on, get online, and you see these press conferences, when you get, all these, players talking, and they're talking about contact practice. They're not talking about walkthroughs.
Right.
And, then you hear the strategy with the players. So it's here. Football season's here. We're excited. Like I said, share the page, share the video. We want y'all to get interacting with us. Appreciate everybody that got on there today. We had the phone call. Appreciate Mark calling in. That's all the time we got this week. Hey, we want everybody to pray for the Panhandle. Pray for everybody down in Florida, Louisiana. I think even Texas. They got
it's coming up in the Texas.
two storms coming up through there. Tropical storms, could be hurricanes. And, it's always funny. You don't know the track. So we say it's going into Louisiana. It's liable to hit Tampa.
Right.
We don't know all that stuff. We just want to pray for everybody down there. Safety, keep it safe. And if y'all got to evacuate, come on up here. This part of Georgia always hosted over at the Civic Center. We'll pack them in there. That's all the time we got this week. God bless.